We're now hearing already news about stations being closed in Hong Kong. What's the latest?
That's correct, Sherry. I'm in front of an entrance of the central MTR station behind me. Now, the train is relatively busy for this time in the morning, as the rail operator has already announced limited services and the closure of some stations, including Mongkok. So that makes 3 stations closed this morning. This as protesters have called for continued disruptions to transport this morning, starting from 6:15 a.m. Now, the calls to do so happened as clashes escalated throughout Tuesday night, making a path out of the current impasse even less clear. Now, pitch battles at a major university reached a deadly level, according to police. Several injuries were reported as students set up barricades at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. They also threw bricks and petrol bombs, while police used tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowd. A water cannon was also used at around 10 p.m. after hours of confrontations, and police reportedly began retreating at around midnight away from their early lines. Now, students are increasingly becoming the core of these more hardline demonstrations. Of the near 300 people who were arrested on Monday, for example, police said about 2/3 are students. And as for Tuesday, several arrests were made here in Central, where tear gas was used by riot police to disperse the crowd here, made up of black-clad protesters as well as office workers. Sherry and Heidi.
So we're now hearing that the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is vowing to work on a bill to support the pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. Is there a sense that there's growing frustration outside of Hong Kong with what's going on? And is this kind of international pressure likely to play into what Carrie Lam or what we see out of Beijing?
Alongside Senator McConnell, several U.S. senators have expressed their growing restlessness at what they perceive to be a delay in moving the bill through Congress, given the increasing tensions we're seeing here on the ground. As for whether that would see Beijing or Hong Kong, the government's a waiver when it comes to pressure from international sources, we're seeing this hardened rhetoric, if you will, from the leadership. For example, you have Chief Executive Carrie Lam on Monday saying that the violent protesters were enemies of the people, and she had maintained her position around stability and order. So it looks like the police remain the core part of the strategy to contain these demonstrations. As to Beijing's position of late, we've heard from several authorities, including the Chinese Foreign Ministry, implying that crimes here in Hong Kong by protesters need to be punished. There's also speculation about whether there will be a push for security laws to be strengthened here in Hong Kong, as was attempted several years ago. And also, there's a question about whether emergency laws may be invoked once again, which is how the anti-mask law was implemented.